Hello, everybody, and welcome to your first flipped algebra video lesson. In this first lesson, we're just going to chat quickly about our learning target and review some vocabulary that you're going to want to have in your notes. So, learning target, what are we going to be able to do in this lesson? I can reason about operations on real numbers. Well, that sounds exciting. More specifically, I can find the sum or product. So sum, just a reminder, that means addition. Product is multiplication. So I can find the sum or product of two rational numbers. That's a word we're going to define here in a moment, and explain why the sum or product is rational. I also can find the sum or product of two rational and irrational numbers and explain when the sum or product is irrational. So that's where we're heading with this first very exciting lesson. So let's dive into our vocabulary. So we've got some words to fill in here. You want to make sure you're writing everything down that you see me put on here. Please feel free to pause when necessary. I might have a whole definition pop up at once, and then you'll just want to pause so you have a minute to write it down. Our first vocab word, irrational numbers. So irrational number, a number that cannot be written as a fraction. It's a non-repeating, non-terminating decimal. So you guys are familiar with some irrational numbers, whether or not you knew that it was irrational. One of the most famous ones that we have in math is the number pi. So pi is 3.141592654 ... because it does continue forever. It does not repeat and it does not terminate. You cannot write it as a fraction, so pi is an irrational number. Another example, the square root of 20. Square root of 20, if you type that into your calculator, is 4.472135955, and it continues on. That's all that would fit on my calculator. So again, it does not repeat, it does not terminate, and you cannot write it as a fraction. Therefore, it is irrational. All right, next we have rational number. So rational actually has the word ratio in it. That's what's starting it out, R-A-T-I-O, ratio. Ratio is a fraction of two numbers. So the definition of rational number is a number that can be written as a fraction. Some examples, well, I can write a fraction 5/7. That's a fraction, therefore it is a rational number. Let's see, 0.5. That's a decimal, but can you write 0.5 as a fraction? Yeah, that's the same thing as 1/2. That's a rational number. Let's see, we have just the number 25. Is 25 rational? Can you write it as a fraction? Well, I could write it as 25 over 1. I could also express it as 100 over 4. 100 divided by 4 has the same value as 25. So I'm able to write these as ratios, therefore they are fractions. Maybe let's look at 0.3 repeating. So 0.3 repeating, that's a decimal, but that comes from the fraction of 1/3. So if you have repeating decimals, those do come from fractions, therefore making them rational numbers. Our next word is real numbers. Real numbers are all of your rational and irrational numbers, which we just covered in the first two words. So all of these examples that we were writing down, those are all real numbers. Real numbers can be rational, real numbers can be irrational. All right, next we have element of a set. So an element of a set is an object in a set. Maybe this seems a little out of order, so we're probably saying, well, what's a set? And that's what we're going to define next. But an element of a set is an object within that set. All right, so moving on to set. A set is a collection of objects, such as numbers. We'll get into, that'll make more sense once you see some examples in our upcoming videos. And last, we have a subset. Subset is a set where all the elements are also elements of a larger set. Again, we will come back to this vocab in the next set of videos, and that will just have all of this make even more sense. So moving on to the next video. Here we go.